Hey, y'all, welcome back to the show. My name is Joe Alvarez, and this is Cinematicians. Today, I'm going to be talking with a good friend of mine and a colleague in the movie buff industry. We've been talking about the Oscars, and that's what we're going to start talking about first. So, may I introduce my good cousin, Owen Parker?
Hello, Joe. Happy to be here. Happy to be talking about movies and talking with you.
Absolutely, likewise. So, like I say, the first topic of discussion is the Oscars. Tell me your first thoughts about what happened with the Oscars.
Um, First thoughts, I would say somewhat predictable.
Yeah.
I think everyone knew Oppenheimer was going to go in for the big win and for a lot of wins. So that didn't really surprise me all that much, even if Oppenheimer wasn't my personal favorite of the Best Picture nominees. I think it deserved the award as well as I was pretty certain it was going to get it. Same with Cillian, I forget how to
Killian
pronounce
Murphy,
his
yeah.
name. Cillian Murphy, same with him getting Best Actor, Emma Stone getting Best Actress. I think a lot of it was fairly play by play for what I predicted at the start. Not to say that most of those weren't deserved or worthy, whether or not it was, again, with Best Picture, whether or not it was my personal favorite. I can definitely acknowledge the deserving that the films had, but I think in a word, I would say predictable.
Yeah. You think the hype for the now actually I should also clarify to the audience that neither Owen nor myself are really, professionals in this environment. We just love to watch the movies and we love to talk about it. We had a big group chat that we were part of that kept bringing up the Oscars. Owen and I were constantly putting in our reviews for stuff like that. So it's just our honest to goodness opinions on these things.
We are
Um,
professional fans.
we are
That's
professional fans. I like the way you put it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're making our way up there as professional critics, hopefully, maybe one day.
Yep,
Um,
yep. I'll see you in the papers.
exactly. Um, but yeah, the leading actors and actresses, you pretty much put it out. They practically deserved all of it. Were you able to watch Poor Things? I wasn't able to catch that one.
So, out of all the Best Picture nominees, the only two I missed were Poor Things and Zone of Interest.
Yeah.
I managed to see all of the others, and most, if not all, were very good. I've heard good things about the other two. I've heard mixed things about the other two. Neither one had all perfect reviews. I've heard great things about Emma Stone's performance. So even though I hadn't seen the film Poor Things, I was hedging my bets that Emma Stone was going to win that award.
Yeah.
Zone of Interest, I had heard mostly good things about. Uh, I didn't miss that one for lack of trying, and I hope to watch it within a week or so, but I just could not fit it in before the actual Oscars ceremony. So those are the only two I missed.
Yeah. And then what do you think if Oppenheimer, I guess I'm curious about your opinion. I think I might have heard it before, but if Oppenheimer hadn't won Best Picture, what do you think your bet or your preference even would have been?
My preference, my favorite movie of the year was Cord Jefferson's American Fiction. That movie, I thought was hilarious and poignant. I thought the ensemble cast was incredible. I mean, Jeffrey Wright in the lead role was great, but I thought all the supporting cast was great as well. And I found the script to be very funny, and as well as properly satirical, which is something that I did not feel was as consistent with Barbie the same year. So my personal favorite, if I was the lone Academy member voting on Best Picture, I would have handed it to American Fiction. If Oppenheimer wasn't the winner, my guess for the actual Academy would probably have been Poor Things, just based on what I've heard people say about it. Again, it's one of the two I had not seen, but based on buzz, based on what others have had to say about it, if it wasn't Oppenheimer, my guess was that that would be where they would lean.
The other guy in Poor Things, that was Mark Ruffalo, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, and he was
Yeah.
nominated for Best Supporting for that one too,
Yeah.
which maybe he's fantastic in that, but if I was just to go off the other things I've seen him in, I'm not a big Mark Ruffalo fan.
Hmm.
I thought he was fairly good in Spotlight, the 2015 Best Picture winner.
Hmm.
But looking at his big roles as Bruce Banner in the MCU or a couple of his other things, uh I don't know, his recent things like the Adam Project, a lot of the more blockbustery action films.
Yeah.
He's not a personal favorite actor of mine. So maybe he's great in Poor Things. Haven't gotten around, but I was kind of shocked to see him up there.
Yeah. He's given me some weird, I don't know, just on his track record, some weird almost discount Nick Cage vibes. You know what I mean by
I
that?
actually
Yeah.
do. He kind of has that same kind of soft spoken, but what's going on kind of
And
thing.
like he could go crazy, but it wouldn't make sense. Nick Cage, sometimes it can work, but at other times it's just like, wait, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, and also a bit of a there. While he's also soft spoken, he also has less emotion on his face normally. Um,
Yeah.
one of the reasons I kind of agree with you on Jeffrey Wright's performance was he had really good emotion, but it was so subtle, and I think the
Mhm.
Oscars tend to look over that a lot. Um,
Mhm.
although they did recognize him as a nominee, so
Yeah.
I was really hoping he would get it if it hadn't been for Cillian Murphy. And I think there's something too with Cillian Murphy and Bradley Cooper. They were both in biopics, and there's just something about biopics, you know, about acting acting as a real person who lived. Uh, there's a lot. It's a lot easier to work off of that.
Mhm.
Um, but I think you and I try to look at the performance alone and then move out from there.
Right, and that's the thing. That's the thing with biopics is it gives you a measure of how close they performed. Like
Mm-hmm.
with Cillian Murphy and Bradley Cooper, especially. And I did not get around to seeing Rustin, but Coleman Domingo that was a biopic that Coleman Domingo was
That's
nominated
right.
Best Actor for. And so the Academy, we know they go gaga over biopics. Like it just they love seeing these things, and like I said, it gives a close metric for the actors to for the Academy to base. Was this a good performance? In did they reflect very closely the real life person that they're portraying?
Yeah,
So for someone
exactly.
like Killian Murphy and Bradley Cooper, who put in performances. Bradley Cooper playing Leonard Bernstein is we have a lot of footage of him and like this guy lived in a media age. We have a little bit of we have some recordings of Oppenheimer, J. Robert Oppenheimer, um, that we know what he sounded like. We have photographs, we know what he looked like, but there's not as much as we have Leonard Bernstein, who lived very prominently in the media age, where we have him in many interviews and recordings and things that we have this idea. We know what he looked like, we know what he sounded like. um so we can compare, okay, the actor did a really good job portraying this guy that we know how he acted.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in an original story like American Fiction or with Jeffrey Wright or Paul Giamatti and The Holdovers, is they just have a script with a character who's based off the writer's imagination, and the writer and the actor and the director all need some, and sometimes it's all the same person, but that the writer, director, and actor all need to agree on how this character is going to be portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can make that character feel like a real person, and if you can make this fictional movie feel like a biopic because of how real this character feels, then I think that's a great measure of not just the acting but the writing as well. And I love that about American Fiction. Going back to that, um I think Thelonious felt like a real character, like it felt
Yeah.
like he was an author who who is struggling to break through barriers that should not have been placed, you know. But he wasn't a one note righteous guy. He had his own problems. He was prideful. He was, you know, he had his own prejudices as well. That like he felt like a real person from both the writing side and through Jeffrey Wright's great performance. So now I don't know for certain that Jeffrey Wright deserved the best actor as much as I want to give American Fiction Best Picture. I don't know for certain that Jeffrey Wright deserved Best Actor over Cillian Murphy. They were both great in their
Yeah.
respective movie. They were both great in their respective movies, and I'm not upset that Cillian Murphy got the Oscar. I just have a lot of good things to say about American Fiction.
Yeah, it was really funny. I was looking at Instagram, and I have this Irish Daily uh page that I look at every once in a while, and they went crazy. Cork went crazy when Cillian Murphy won his first Academy Award. So that was really entertaining to watch. And then I guess RDJ's performance was also pretty spot on. Even just because I wasn't familiar with the actual character that he played,
Mhm.
but even just his overall performance of a character, kind of both both the it was kind of the foil character to Killian's a bit, where in some ways he was kind of working with him, but then it all kind of came crumbling down in their relationship, and I think he portrayed that really well.
Yeah, I thought Robert Downey Jr. did very well in that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with like, you know, becoming almost unrecognizable under
Right.
under
He
the
lost
makeup
almost all his hair.
and things like that. Like just looking at the original still shots, I was like, wait, that's RDJ. And then like I heard his voice in the trailer. I was, oh, yep, that's
Right.
RDJ.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
he's not exactly one of those ones that I would have struck with like, oh, he has a really recognizable voice. Like Christopher Walken, you know when
Oh,
someone
of
does a
course, yeah.
Christopher Walken impression. You know when someone does like, you know, a Robert De Niro or a Nick Al Pacino. Like some of these guys, they've got like these such impressionable voices and things like that. But I didn't realize just how much I would recognize Robert Downey Jr.'s voice until I heard the trailer of Oppenheimer and then saw the movie compared to seeing the face under the makeup. And then I don't know if you ever saw Jamie Foxx's impression of Robert Downey Jr., but there was
No, I have. I know he's done a ton of really funny impressions. Like he's probably from some other sources that I've seen, he has done probably the best Trump impression I've ever
Jamie Foxx.
heard.
I have
Jamie
not.
Foxx,
I
yeah.
have not seen his Trump impression. I have not seen. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
funny. Like that guy's funny, but I didn't realize just how recognizable Robert Downey Jr.'s voice was until I heard Jamie Foxx do like a spot on.
Right.
I was like, oh
He's
wow.
suddenly
Like,
become one of those actors.
yeah, that's
And that's
pretty.
also really funny. Like there's some kind of poetic justice, because he played the big Oscar winner in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah,
Fantastic film, and then now he's finally gotten an Oscar for
yeah.
a dramatic role.
For a dramatic role. Well, so that's the thing with Tropic Thunder. I didn't love the whole movie that much. There were some funny moments, but I think most of it was relying on tropes from other films, which was part of the gag. But
Yeah.
I thought Robert Downey Jr. was hilarious in that one
Oh yeah,
as Kirk
absolutely.
Lazarus. I thought he was hilarious. I've never been a big Jack Black fan
Yeah,
except for
neither have
like
I. Yeah,
except for like the Kung Fu Panda movies. He's a great
Kung Fu
voice actor.
Panda,
Great voice actor.
yeah, exactly. I think, and I don't think I can imagine anyone else playing his character in School of Rock either. Not that that was a great movie, but
I haven't seen
it's
it.
kind of his movie now.
I haven't seen School of Rock, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think Ben Stiller and Robert Downey Jr. carried Tropic Thunder. But oh,
exactly,
gotta hand it
exactly.
to Tom Cruise
Oh,
there for
exactly right. I was gonna say
that.
the other makeup wonder,
Yeah.
the whole dance routine at the end. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, so to kind of segue a little bit, as on Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer, my mind goes to both that film and when Gary Oldman won Best Actor for Darkest Hour,
hmm
playing Winston Churchill. Um, just that these famous actors are made almost unrecognizable under their under their prosthetics and their makeup and things like that. And those movies tend to win the Oscar for makeup and hairstyling, which this year Poor Things beat Oppenheimer for makeup and hairstyling, while Robert Downey Jr. won Best Supporting Actor for Lewis Strauss. And not to say his performance was bad, but that he was artificially made
It's
to
kind of given
look
a leg up with the makeup.
right. He was given a leg up, and same goes for like Bradley Cooper and Maestro.
Yeah.
And did you hear all the controversy surrounding the nose and things like that?
I didn't hear controversy. I just noticed it myself and realized, wow, that's kind of how he blends the character besides the weight loss.
Yeah, so Bradley Cooper not being of, Jewish ethnicity and portraying Leonard Bernstein with his, prominent nose, and then putting prosthetics and makeup over his nose to make him closer. And the same year, Golda was nominated for Best Achievement in Makeup and Hairstyling, about Golda Meir. And it has Helen Mirren playing her, a British white woman playing an Israeli woman. And both Bradley Cooper and Helen Mirren received prosthetics and makeup on their faces to give them to change their ethnic appearance. And so it almost seems disingenuous at times to
Mm-hmm.
give certain awards to certain people. Like, if we had Gary Oldman without the fat suit of Winston Churchill in The Darkest Hour, like, no one would cast him as Winston Churchill because he doesn't look like him. I mean, in the King's
Yeah.
Speech, they had Timothy Spall um, play Winston Churchill, and they had to do less on him because he is of a closer girth, I suppose, to Churchill. Whereas Gary Oldman, dude's thin.
Yeah, he's skinny as all get. Like if you go back even to the Dark Knight movies, like he is, you would not have thought of him
Right.
as Winston Churchill for
You
sure.
wouldn't, yeah, you're not going to look at Commissioner Gordon in The Dark Knight and be like, yes, Churchill.
He can pull off
That's
the accent, maybe do an audio recording, but yeah.
and that's the thing. It's like, uh, so I think my question with this, and I don't suppose there'd be an answer, but it's like, are certain actors given a leg up through the makeup and hairstyling, and how much of it when we look at their performances are we seeing their performance, and how much of it are we seeing under makeup and hairstyling?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so, in a case such as Robert Downey Jr. winning an Oppenheimer for Lewis Strauss, not to say anything against his performance, but considering that, would he even have gotten the part
Right.
if they didn't have the makeup and hairstyling things?
Well, I
So,
think that's a funny thing too, because both Maestro and Oppenheimer had that heavy makeup application, and they're also the biopics. So like you already had a reference not only for the character but also how they look, right? So being the cooperative project that filmmaking is, it would seem that would have to work both ways to give them that Oscar. Yeah, something to that, I'm
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, and I suppose that just comes. I mean, I guess it does make sense is that, film is a cooperative effort. It's not just the actor acting or the makeup and hairstylist makeuping and hairstyling. Um, so it is cooperative, but it's like, when you look at things like Maestro and Golda, both this past year, and you see these white, Caucasian actors getting cast in Jewish roles, it's like,
Yeah.
the question is like, well, are we taking roles away from Jewish actors, or whatever, that of people who could be portraying their own people? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm for breaking boundaries and things like that. But and
But
I
one does wonder like where the proportion is, where one ends and where the other begins. Yeah.
right. So it's like the ethics of ethnics.
I like that. The ethics of
It's like
ethnics. Yep.
the ethics of ethics is like, I believe that Bradley Cooper and Helen Mirren are both very talented actors, and not gonna lie, I thought Bradley Cooper's Bernstein voice was extremely annoying in watching. And I've watched some Bernstein interviews, and it's he doesn't sound that bad. He has a little bit of it, but it's not like the really nasal kind of thing that Bradley Cooper does through a whole 2.5 hours of his
Oh gosh,
movie.
man.
Oh
That
goodness. This is
Yeah, there are like
oh.
two things that you just touched on that I would love to talk about. The first part is like um just how long movies are, especially these days, especially with the ones that were nominated for Best Picture. Like Oppenheimer is kind of on a grand, almost epic scale, so I almost forgive it for that. Killers of the Flower Moon tried to do that, but it was so slow and rather boring. It could have been cut down by like an hour. And then there was Maestro, where it was 2.5 hours of
Just
Bradley Cooper and all his fellow actors interrupting each other all the time. That was the thing that really bugged me about that script
oh
and the
yeah.
dialogue. It was so confusing and so messy. Yeah, those were my big personal grudges on those movies this year. Just the length, and especially on Maestro. There were a couple other things that I wasn't really big on, but yeah.
Did you have you seen His Girl Friday, the 40s or 30s film with Cary Grant and I don't remember who else it is.
Probably
Uh,
not.
but yeah, it's an old film, but it's probably an hour and a half. But it wouldn't surprise me if they have some kind of dialogue record because of all it speaking over and talk interrupting and whatever that happens. Like that movie, like I kind of got I kind of reminisced on that one watching Maestro with people like talking over it. It was like, wow, everyone is talking at once. I just imagine what that script looked like.
It was like almost too much of an emphasis on realism of dialogue, right? Where sometimes like what's been happening every once in a while on Zoom meetings, right? We kind of accidentally cut each other off, and that does happen in the real world. But like every other line, and also like half of the interrupting dialogue was so useless. Like it didn't need to be there.
Yeah, that's right. That's something that I noticed with a couple of the films. So maybe Maestro as well as Past Lives.
Mhm.
Uh, oh, what was her name? Greta, not Greta, Greta Lee. Greta Lee was the actress. Celine Song, the director writer. Um, that I felt that one was focusing a lot on the realism aspect of it. So like the dialogue was not really uh polished, and except for sometimes when it felt really like intentionally poeticized, I guess.
Mhm.
I enjoyed Past Lives to a degree. I think it was a very beautiful film, but at the same time, I think there was kind of there was beauty in the simplicity as well as a little kind of stagnation. And
Mhm.
then at times it even struck me as slightly pretentious. Um, but I did find the acting especially to be very impressive in that one. But yeah, Past Lives and Maestro, even kind of holdovers. There were oh, uh, not to rag on not to blow this horn too much, but I think American fiction really balanced the line between like realistic sounding as well as kind of polished. No, a lot of writers go heavy into profanity and swearing to make it realistic sounding, which to be honest, American fiction did have a lot of profanity and swearing,
Yeah.
but a lot of it was, you know, extremely intentional in its satirical nature. Like, you know what I'm talking about, the major plot point of the major
Exactly.
plot point of the film regarding a swear word.
It'll be
Um
titled that or nothing.
or another yeah. So um I mean I'm not exactly a prude. I can watch a movie that includes swearing, but at a certain point it just gets tiring and or useless, or because like the shock value wears off.
Hmm.
Um, so I think American Fiction actually kind of brought a little bit of the shock value back to the swear. Like,
Right.
like there was the question of, is this a thing we can publish? Is this a thing that's good to say a lot and share with people? And it brought kind of satirical punch to the script, I think, that actually made a curse funny again. Like I haven't laughed at the F word in a long time until that movie.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah. So the to kind of segue with that, kind of catering to the masses in some degree, with all the swearing. I do think that the Oscars themselves were, at least one or two of them, and you probably can guess what I'm talking about right now, were very much, popular favorites, like Oppenheimer and Barbie, right? The Barbenheimer combo.
the Barbenheimer.
and and I'm wondering because I think it was the last time we had like the perfect combination of the all the winners being not only popular but really good movies. And I'm not saying that Barbenheimer was a perfect combo, but that was like 1939 where we had Gone with the Wind, we had Wizard of Oz. They were all the popular favorites, but they were also all the all the you know
Critic
what
darlings.
the critic, yeah, exactly, the critic darlings. And do you think that the Barbenheimer energy, the Barbenheimer Kenergy kind of played into that? Like, do you think they were mostly looking at, oh man, this is getting a lot of commercial favor, like maybe we should actually pay attention to this, and especially in the case of Barbie, like that weirded me out by the fact that it was nominated, except for the fact that it was the whole Barbenheimer meme.
um, I think even without the Barbenheimer meme, I think Barbie would have been nominated.
You want to say
I
more on that?
I think the Academy might have been that starved for um, female-led films, or that it was on the nose enough message-wise that they felt even if it didn't get super popular like it did, they probably would have felt they would have fallen under pressure had Barbie not been nominated.
I mean, they already got a lot of heat from Margot Robbie not being even nominated for Best Actress.
That is true. Which, to be honest, um, I don't know that she needed. Uh, I thought, okay, so the Barbie movie.
Let's get into it. This is where the fun begins.
This is really funny. Yep, 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 yep. Okay, I need to. Where are the best director nominees? There they are. There they are. Not only did Margot Robbie not get nominated for Best Actress, but Greta Gerwig did not get nominated for Best Director. And both of those, I think, were desert deserved to not be nominated, or undeserved to be nominated. Now I did not see Naiad with Annette Bening getting nominated for Best Actress. I've seen her in other things. I know her to be good. I know Margot Robbie to be fairly good, but I did not find her performance in Barbie to be magical. um, Again, back to the winner, Emma Stone. Again, I did not see Poor Things, but I've heard just rave reviews for her. I thought she was great in La La Land, which she won for. I thought she was good in Birdman. I thought she was good in, heck, I thought she was fine in Amazing Spider-Man. Like I think Emma Stone does all right. um, I did not see Annette Bening in Naiad, but my vote for Best Actress, most people would say Lily Gladstone. Mine was for Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall. I thought I thought she was very good in that one. Capturing a lot of the she really plays very well the did she or didn't she, like I don't know how much spoilers of the movie we're offering. I think we've already spoiled a little bit, but hey, these are last year's films, okay? Like,
Exactly. The Oscars already happened a
the,
month
the
ago.
the Oscars happened. We're gonna carry on because Anatomy of a Fall, it doesn't give you an answer on
Mhm.
if she killed her husband or not. So it just shows you the court case, and then it presents you the evidence, and you're kind of acting as a juror yourself as the audience. Um and and the movie ends with the decision. She's declared not guilty, but there's just enough seed of doubt. Like there are certain movies from back in the 50s 60s when the crime drama was at its peak,
Mhm.
and most of them ends with like this plot twist, and then the evidence is revealed, the person is guilty and arrested or whatever, or the evidence is revealed and the person is declared not guilty, and as they leave they reveal that they actually did it and now they got away with it, and it's like but Anatomy of a Fall doesn't offer any of that. It's like she's declared not guilty and she's happy for it, and she looks relieved because at least she's not um unjustly accused. But as the audience, we're not there's enough contradictory evidence and things like that, enough motive, enough means and things that it's like, well, I could go either way.
Mhm.
And I think Sandra Holler does a good job of performing it without, like, she's throughout the whole movie, she's insistent that she's innocent. She's insistent that she's innocent. But as things are presented, you see like she gets fear in her eyes, but is it of being found out or is it of being unjustly imprisoned? And
Mhm.
I think she handled that very well, and she would have been my personal choice, yes, even over Lily Gladstone, who did what very well in Killers of the Flower Moon. And Carrie Mulligan in Maestro was fine. I think she has a very real looking, a natural looking smile. Like when she smiles on screen, I'm like, she looks like she's actually happy. But
Yeah.
but otherwise, of the nominees that I saw, Sandra Holler would have been my choice, and I would have picked, out of the three I saw, Carrie Mulligan, Lily Gladstone, and Sandra Holler. I would have picked any of them over Margot Robbie,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, for Barbie. And if I saw Naiad or Poor Things, I imagine I would have picked either of them over Margot Robbie and Barbie too.
And then with Greta Gerwig too, while she, she has a good track record, and there are some really, there are good and better views of what Barbie was supposed to be about, but it was just so dang messy and trying to keep one's toe on the line the entire time that it just kept going back and forth, and it was just so confusing that the directing didn't seem to have a great play in it. It was just trying to make everyone happy.
Yeah, yeah. And I think by trying to make everyone happy, it pleased some people on a purely superficial level. Like, you have all the people singing I'm Just Ken and
Right, yeah,
things
exactly.
like that. And then maybe someone found it engaging on the deeper level. I did not. Like earlier in the film, I thought it was there are like the surface level feminist ideas that I was like, oh, okay, women deserve rights. All right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I can get behind that.
Well,
but
and it's
but
keep saying.
at the same time, Barbie itself is not a utopia because they oppress the Kens and like
Hmm.
the Kens don't realize it, which is what the feminist claim of women who are not in third or fourth wave feminism. So like women who are content to be a housewife or whatever, or are happy to uphold the patriarchy. Um, it's a third or fourth wave feminist will say, oh, that's because, you don't realize you're being oppressed. And then um uh and the Kens are supposed to, like, they're supposed to have the violent reaction to oppression by installing the patriarchy, and then the Barbies all just accept it, which, you know it, again, like you said, it was messy. Is like, that was such a weird plot point to put
Mm-hmm.
so late in the film. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the last half hour of the movie where the Kens come back and install the patriarchy, and then it's like a total detour from what the original plot was with America Ferrera's character, and what was it, Grace,
I don't remember her name.
Sasha, the girl Sasha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was like, it was a total detour from Barbie's story. So I don't know if you've ever watched the film critic Nutsa on YouTube. She does um, uh, video essays on film.
I've seen a couple of videos. Yeah.
She's my favorite on YouTube right now. Um, and she did like an almost 2 hour video on Barbie. It was like, I think it was longer than the actual I think it was longer than the actual Barbie movie.
Mm-hmm.
Or and she made a really good point that this Barbie was supposed to be like a female led comedy movie. It was directed and half written by Greta Gerwig. Noah Baumbach was a writer on it too. Margot Robbie and America Ferrera are like, these actresses are supposed to be the lead hearts of the film. But even then, Nutsa made the point that this female led film can't carry an entire plot without it being about men.
Right. I mean, Ryan Gosling kind of carried the film.
Well, right. So that's what I was saying, is like, when you ask most people I've talked to who saw the movie, I asked them even before I saw it, because I didn't see it in for almost like I didn't see it until January of this year. So I
Mm-hmm.
missed
Yeah.
it throughout the whole Barbenheimer summer.
Right.
I didn't watch
That
it at all.
that's probably for the best.
Yeah, I skipped the whole Barbenheimer summer thing. I watched almost all the Best Picture nominees in January. It was like a 2 week thing. I watched one almost every night, but I still missed Poor Things and Zone of Interest. Um, but anyone I asked before I went and saw the movie, asking them what their favorite part was, and almost to a person, they said Ryan Gosling as Ken. And so it was, okay, not only does this female-led film change the plot to be man-focused, everyone's favorite part of this female-led film is a
It's a guy.
man. So that's what made the Oscars ceremony so funny, was that when they were going through the best song nominees and things like that, and they bring they do the full I'm Just Ken performance.
Oh
It
gosh.
was
Yeah.
like 100 male performers and things like that, as they're singing this man song, and it's everyone's favorite part of the whole ceremony. It was like, I think Barbie failed dramatically in its purpose.
Well, that's the question, is like, what was its purpose? Like, because
What was
I've seen two sides of it, right? You have the third, fourth wave feminism side of it, and that's almost what people say is the superficial level. And then some people who like to take a weird Straussian approach to it will say there are weird nuggets of wisdom in here, and maybe there are. But like I said, it was so messy. It was just things strung together by Ryan Gosling, practically.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to, like, I thought America Ferrera was really funny in it. Like, I thought
Well,
I
that's the other thing too, is that there weren't really any straight characters. Like in a comedy, you need a straight character.
oh, the straight. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, then there's that.
I was thinking of a different. I was thinking of a
Right.
different straight. I was like,
right. And there's the comedic characters, and they
right, the
tend to
straight man.
instigate a
Yeah,
lot of stuff,
yeah.
right? Even just for the benefit of the audience, the straight character needs to be the balance and kind of the source of reason. The closest thing to a straight character in that movie was Rhea Perlman, who was far from the straightest character, or no, who was far from a straight character generally. And so that's also, it was unbalanced in that sense, even though it was maybe it was trying to keep its toe on the line. There was very little line to keep one's toe on.
Yeah, it seems like every moment was wrong for a joke. I guess the only part I can think of would have been like would have been okay, now it's bugging me. What was America? Was it Grace? Was that what her name was? I'm pulling it up right now. Oh gosh.
IMDb
Everyone's
lifesaver.
character. Yeah, everyone's name is Barbie. Oh my gosh. They're all named freaking Barbie. Okay. Why is she not even in the top credited? Okay. Uh yeah, so I I yeah, I suppose the closest
Gloria.
Gloria. And then you had, Michael Cera's Alan. Um
Also the least straight character.
um so I suppose like the moments they tried to wring out importance or emotion or depth were when Barbie's on the bench and starts crying and sees the old lady and says you're beautiful, and I'm like, okay, kind of a sweet moment. Yeah, there's beauty in everything. I get what they were going for, that
Yeah.
everything's got some beauty in it, and you don't need to just look at just the plastic beauty standard. Um, but then it was gone, and then we get the Gloria's speech on the paradoxical life of a woman in the modern day era, which this very well could be me being extremely out of touch and ignorant of the real world. But I was listening to a lot of the things she was saying, and I did not get it. Like, maybe that makes me a grade A misogynist, and I don't know, but like when she was talking about the things women can't do and the things they have to do, and how they contradict, like I I I didn't I didn't see where in our modern day world that's present. I wonder if I can pull up a full transcript.
Oh, when you're canceled.
I may very much be. Let's see, Barbie paradox speech. Okay, all right. It is literally impossible to be a woman. You have to be thin, but not too thin, and you can never say you want to be thin. I Who said you can't say you want to be thin? I I don't know who said that. I don't. I mean, I I I feel like in their attempt to universalize the if the feelings that the feelings that women have, they generalize men. Like, at the same time as I don't want to be a grade A misogynist, I don't want to do like the hashtag not all men thing, because that seems a little like uh,
Right.
uh cheap too. But it's like, let's see, you have to be a boss but you can't be mean, you have to lead but you can't squash other people's ideas. That's anybody. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
anyone should have to lead but not squash other people's ideas. Uh you have to be a career woman but also always be looking out for other people. It's like, now, okay, I can talk about the motherly instinct and paternal protection and things like that, but it's like, I feel like she is, maybe this is, no, I'm a young man. I'm a young man. I have not been in the workforce long, I'm an adult, but I'm a young adult. So there are plenty of things in life that I have not experienced, that I have not heard firsthand other people's experience. I have no woman I know has told me that this speech resonated with them. In fact, I've spoken with two women who said this thing was stupid.
Mhm.
So it's like, I just
Well,
um
and I mean, she is
yeah.
conflating all these ideas as social construction but a lot of it is actually referencing something that's actually kind of natural and inherent in a lot of people. But she's making it out that it's just these are the rules that people lay down for no reason. Well, we don't exactly lay all of them down per se. It's just how people are reacting to a lot of things that she's pointing to.
Mhm.
Yeah,
and and so where it comes down to is she in the full list of all the contradictions, you have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out
mm-hmm.
of line. It turns out in fact that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. If I had a nickel for every time men were blamed for something that is not a man's fault, like, who do women wear makeup for?
Exactly.
I don't think it's men. I don't think women wear makeup for men. It's like, okay, I don't want to get like too canceled. I don't
Oh well,
with my conspiracies,
I think
but
there's two sides of that. I
Mhm.
think there's some self uh self reflection that's going on with makeup, and obviously you myself, we don't wear makeup, that's how we are, but like
Well, you don't.
fair
I'm a theater kid, dude. I was wearing
enough,
mascara.
fair enough.
I was wearing mascara the other day. So.
On the occasional necessity for due to lighting and distance. But like there is a sense where I was listening to an interview previously, and where they talk about how women like to hear things, men like to see things. So there's two sides of the same coin with makeup, where women want to feel comfortable in it, but part of that is to feel like they they're wanted by men sometimes. That's why they will also try to look prettier. There's a bunch of different layers, no pun intended, going into that. Um, right? Yeah, I should be a comedian, but I think there's a few different parts to that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But a lot of these things that she brings up, I feel like should apply for a lot of people.
Oh, they
Like
do absolutely.
and like men too. That I
Hmm.
feel like I'm not going to pretend I can speak for women. I'm I will not I will attempt to not project what I think women actually think. I can say what women have told me about this movie, that not every woman likes the Barbie movie.
Yeah.
And but just reading the speech on the things that she complains about, um it's just like, okay, I think even if men do some of these things, they shouldn't be. And the movie is against toxic masculinity, which, hey, I'm against toxic masculinity. I think it becomes a label that gets put on too many men
Hmm.
who aren't doing it. And I think this movie, um you know, I think it generalizes far too much to really be effective satire. Um,
Yeah. Well,
and
it makes pretty sweeping statements to appease both sides, and you can
exactly.
maybe sift through it and find the nuggets of wisdom, like people will talk about, if they did like it, on less than a superficial level, on more than a superficial level. But yeah, like you're saying, it's very sweeping, it's very broad, doesn't really get down to the actual problems, just kind of the vague problems.
And yeah, it makes sweeping statements and then applies it to general men. And
Hmm.
then you have Alan, who's like the peak man from like he's a fourth wave feminist dream boy, if there is such a thing. But they never really explain why he's better, other than that he dresses up in a pink jumpsuit in support of them. So it's like, it seems like a fourth wave feminist's dream boy is just a girl.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
kind of makes me think of John Mulaney, where he's talking about drag queens,
Mhm.
and it's like they always have this attitude too, like you're gonna put on a dress and a wig, and you're gonna be mean and rude about it. What is your image of a woman like? You should have stayed a guy. So it's kind of the other way around, though. In
Yeah,
some ways, yeah.
exactly. And then even just going to the tagline of the film on the posters, she's everything. He's just Ken. It's like there are two problems with that. One is an
Mm,
attack on men, one is an attack on women. So he's just Ken. That's the attack on men that
mhm.
like the idea that oh yeah, she's got it all and his life revolves around her. And the attack on women goes back to what I mentioned in the Netza video. This movie cannot be just Barbie focused. They could have had Ken as a funny supporting character and had it be the women's movie they wanted. But they they lost track of the main plot, or they realized they couldn't flesh out an hour and a half on the main plot, because the main plot kicks in when Barbie has thoughts of death and she needs to find out what problem her owner is facing. And her owner is a human woman, Gloria, who's having problems with her daughter, Sasha. And you they could have focused on the relationship of the three women,
Yeah.
Barbie, Gloria, and Sasha. But they do that for about 40 minutes of the movie.
Hmm.
And then Ken brings the patriarchy to Barbie Land. And now the movie is this man versus women battle. And so it's like fourth wave feminists can't talk about anything but men.
They don't think they can live without men. They couldn't talk at all if they didn't have them.
Right. Exactly. It's like this movie wanted to pass the Bechdel test so hard. Recall the Bechdel test.
Vaguely,
Right.
I've
So
heard of many different tests.
right. So this one is two named female characters need to have a full conversation that's not about men, and
Mm-hmm.
for it to pass that test, it's testing whether is there like female representation in the story that stands up on its own. And this movie, starts out with that. You have Barbie's problem, you have all the other Barbies around worried about the problem, and then you have the Sasha and Gloria problem, and then it becomes like the big problem becomes the Ken problem.
Becomes the
And
men versus women, which ultimately almost ruins the Bechdel test.
well, right, so it does pass it, because
Almost, yeah, exactly.
they do have multiple conversations that aren't about men, but then they just can't keep the plot away from being male focused. And
Hmm.
then I thought the most poignant moment of the film was I'm just Ken. So not only was it like funny, but to be honest, I didn't go crazy for the song like a lot of other people
Oh
do.
yeah.
I'm not playing it outside of the movie. I'm not singing along to it or whatever. But like that moment, like the point where Ken realizes that the relationship is not what defines me. It is I need to have an identity, she needs to have an identity, and our identities together can make a relationship strong. And then so I feel like Ken had not only the funniest moments, but also the most poignant and the things I took away with from the
More
movie.
Ken.
More it was all the kind of stuff, and it was like, so that's why I think the movie fails, is that Ken is in an abusive relationship, and that's what a lot of people didn't mention was Barbie. Like Barbie never tells him that they're not a couple. because he's when he's asking to do all these things with her, when he's asking to stay over, when he's asking if she wants to go, whatever. It's like she asks why, and he says because we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and then she acts like there are no responsibilities associated with that.
Yeah.
Like, and then and then at the end, she says, "You're Kenneth. You need to find yourself." And so she gave him good advice there, but she's essentially using him at the start
Mm-hmm.
of the movie, and that's never treated as wrong. It's treated like it's Ken's fault that he was reading into something that was never there. And then at the end of the day, she kind of admits that there was never anything, but she didn't tell him that. She just ignores him all the time, disregards him and things like that, and never tells him that they're not a couple,
Yeah.
which is gaslighting. Like I don't know, like in a way it's kind of an abusive relationship that they end up getting out of at the end. But Ken's sadness is played for comic relief. He tries kissing her and she dodges it and he starts crying, and it's just like uh I mean, there's, I guess, the male fragility thing, it does exist. Like there are those guys out there who cannot imagine that girls won't want them and then lash out at women because of it, and that exists.
I mean, it's where the
That's
whole
a
red
thing.
pill movement came from. Yeah.
Right. The whole
Mhm.
based sigma male red pill thing. Like,
Yeah.
um it and I'm not saying you can't make a story about it. I just think having Barbie be the hero when she, in a way, emotionally manipulates Ken from the start of the film,
Hmm.
um, it kind of makes her somewhat villainous at the start, which is not a good look for your film.
Right.
So, yeah, we've spent a while talking about Barbie, but the
There's too much
thing,
ranting to do, you know?
there's too much ranting to do, and it would not have made so much money were it not for Barbenheimer.
Yeah, exactly.
It maybe it would have made 5 or 600 million. It would not have made $1.4 billion
Yeah.
without the Barbenheimer thing. So it's crazy that this female-led comedy that has both the funniest and most poignant moments from the males only reached this level of success because of another movie that has almost no females in it.
Right.
um
Ironic. Yeah.
yeah, so I guess I'll leave my Barbie rant at that. If you have anything more, feel free. But yeah, I've needed to get a little bit of that off my chest.
Yeah, not much except like I just keep going on how messy it was, but just how ill-defined it was. And I think you were touching on that a lot. Is it almost has this weird ADHD movement where it keeps looking at this thing, then he looks at this thing, needs to pass the test, needs to look at that thing again, and then it kind of ends up blowing up in the face if you're paying attention. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really all I give with that. Um, yeah, Ryan Gosling, why? So
Owen's back.
the next thing that it's kind of been on my mind now, in order to segue into the bigger subject I eventually want to talk about, were you able to watch The Boy and the Heron?
No,
Yeah, same.
unfortunate,
I would love to have
unfortunately.
been able to talk about that, but neither of us have seen it. But what
um,
I do, did you hear much about it?
my sister went and saw it. I didn't hear a lot from her on it, other than that
Hmm.
she enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, and that it was supposed to be Miyazaki's last film, but pretty much right after it released, he came back with another script.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah,
and after,
I'm gonna have to look into that movie.
yeah, after seeing all the nominees for best animated feature, I was betting very hard on Across the Spider Verse,
Hmm.
uh, but I did tell my friends. I said, if any movie is going to beat Across the Spider Verse, it'll only be The Boy and the Heron. It's not going to be Elemental. Heck no. It's not going to be Nimona, though it could have like a cult following who would want that one to beat it. Who's heard of Robot Dreams? I don't know. Yeah, but
Right.
I said if any of the movies are going to beat it, it's going to be The Boy and the Heron.
I mean, yeah, Hayao Miyazaki is kind of just throwing things at the Oscars, waiting for something to happen in that sense sometimes. Um, I mean, he won in 2001 for Spirited Away, right?
Two, yeah.
Okay, 2000. That right, yeah, yeah, year later. But one thing that I'd love to get your take on, because I've been thinking about the topic of animation generally speaking,
Mhm.
and I feel like there's a sense in the American culture of what animation ought to be that other cultures don't really embrace. Um, it seems almost two extremes on a spectrum. It either has to be for children or really intense adult
Horrible.
stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like
That
either
children
really
should
bad
not watch.
comedy, sometimes funny, but or just extremely gruesome type comedy attempting to base itself off anime. I've seen some better done than others, but I would love to hear your take on that.
Yes, yeah. So I agree that a lot of the Western takes on animation just don't have the same the same sense of appreciation for it as a powerful medium as especially Eastern like Japan and China and things. Or well, I don't know so much about China, but definitely Japan. Um, Now some anime in Japan is garbage. Some is like it, but some live action sitcoms in Western countries are just garbage, and then some shows in Western some Western live action shows or whatever are masterpieces, and some anime works are masterpieces, and it's just animation. And then the signature anime of Japan is like it's a medium. It's a medium. Like I've known people who would watch anime just because it was anime.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, they'd say, "Oh yeah, that one wasn't very good," or "That one was really good." But then they would say, "What's the next anime I'm going to watch?" Instead of like, "What's the next show I'm going to watch?"
Yeah.
That happens to be an anime. I've watched a few animes in their entirety, and I'm watching one right now. But when I'm looking for a show to watch, I kind of include animes with other shows, like live action or Western animated or whatever, based on does it look interesting?
Mm-hmm.
Like is the plot something I'm gonna like? No, I also ask the question like, does the animation look is it eye catching? Is it interesting? Is it something I'm going to enjoy looking at? And that's one thing that one reason I haven't like gotten really behind Rick and Morty or something like that is like a lot of a lot of Western animated series, especially like the Western like the adult animated series or whatever. It's like they yeah, they maybe they have good scripts or plots or whatever. But the thing is, with animation, you want it to look nice too. Otherwise, you might lose a lot of people. With live action, that's why you that's why a lot of people hire stars who are really good looking is because like
Exactly. Yeah.
if you're watching
Beauty
something
sells.
right exactly if you're watching something you want to enjoy watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Like now if there's something really important about a hard thing to see, like Schindler's List comes to mind. It's like the visuals aren't pretty,
Mm-hmm.
they are not fun to look at, but there's something important behind it.
There's still an
And it's
artistic
not
visual appeal still
right,
there. Yeah.
right. And Schindler's List isn't something I just feel like I want to watch now and then and be like, oh yeah, that's a good movie. Let's watch Schindler's List. I'm with my college buddies and we just finished a final and we're like, hey guys, we should go watch something in the dorm room. Yeah, Schindler's List. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, that's
Some people
uh,
would think of you as psychopaths. Yeah.
right. That's not something that's not something I'm doing, but with something like Rick and Morty or a lot of the other adult animated shows from the West, it's like
Mm-hmm.
maybe they have something to say. Now, Rick and Morty is also pretty like nihilistic and full of things that I don't agree with and don't enjoy, and so I haven't been fond of what I saw and have not continued it. But it's also pretty ugly.
Yeah, exactly. I have never cared for that kind of animation. A lot of um the Adult Swim, Cartoon Network type stuff
Mhm.
haven't really appealed to the visual senses in that sense. They haven't taken advantage of the art style of animation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I enjoyed to a degree. I quite enjoyed Cartoon Network's Over the Garden Wall
Oh, that was awesome.
and
Yeah.
Disney's Gravity Falls. I thought, despite the somewhat weird animation for both of those, I found them both very engaging, funny, and thought provoking or scary at times. And I thought it was all I thought they were both very good. But with the and those shows I think are the ones that respect animation as a medium.
Yeah.
Those are the shows that uh kind of tackle heavy plot, um but add the comedy. There's both comedy for children and adults in there's comedy for children and adults in those shows. And but it doesn't uh ostracize children,
Mhm.
which thing a lot of the Adult Swim stuff does. They're making ugly animation for adults that only adults should be watching because of the content material in it.
If should couldn't even
um
be used.
right, right. If
Yeah.
should could be used, maybe there's value in some of it, but when you look at Miyazaki and the Studio Ghibli films, um most of them have something for everybody. Now, to be honest, I'm not a personal fan of quite a few of them. I don't really dislike any of them, but the only ones that I've really enjoyed are Grave of Fireflies, which is a tragic film that I I would wait a little bit before showing it to kids because it's not because its content is totally inappropriate, but it's just emotionally very weighty.
Mhm.
Um, I really enjoyed Castle in the Sky, which anyone can watch. It's free of overly objectionable content, and it's not as deep as some of the others, but it's fun and interesting, and
Mhm.
it stays that way. And then Kiki's Delivery Service, which has fun animation, and it's a little lighter on plot, but it's a sweet film. And I think that's what a lot of Western animation get what a lot of what gets lost on Western animation is they a lot of the studios think you can't have sweetness without it being for preschoolers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if it's not for preschoolers, it just can't be sweet.
Mhm.
It can't be peaceful or um, heartwarming, because that is for children,
Mhm.
and you can't have peaceful and heartwarming for older people. All
Right.
their stuff needs to be doom and gloom, and
And
so I
crass.
and crass and
Yeah.
crass. And so I think it's tragic that the Oscars kind of relegates animated films to the best animated feature Oscar award, because when it was before its creation in 2001, animated films were largely relegated to the original song and original score Oscars awards, because even then they didn't really respect them. Now, when Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture in 91,
Yeah. It was 91.
91,
Mhm.
that that was a headstone. That was not a headstone, a landmark. It was dramatic, showing, look, animation is a medium like live action to tell good stories.
It's not a genre. Exactly.
It's not a genre. It's a medium for telling good stories. And then right after, just 10 years later, like things like Aladdin in between, and like maybe a couple others, were nominated, won Oscars for, again, score and song, because
Hmm.
animation, by the 90s, animated movies were kind of the last ones being musicals.
Hmm.
Because, you know, in the 60s and 70s and whatever, musicals dominated the
They came out like
Oscars.
every other week. Yeah.
Right. They dominated. And then by the time the 90s roll around, musicals were not mature. They were not important. And so animated films were kind of the last ones doing it at that point. And so 10 years later, when they institute the Best Animated Feature Award, it's like, oh, they're actually going to start looking more at animated movies. No, it was just kind of to keep them in their place, because they
Hmm.
didn't think Shrek was good enough for Best Picture, but they wanted to acknowledge Shrek,
Hmm.
which, to be honest, I think Monsters Inc. was better than Shrek. So
Oh, by far.
the fact
Like,
that Shrek won that award, won the very first ever Best Animated Feature Award was, but Shrek was also, I believe, um, nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay.
adapted.
Yeah, because it was like a Swedish children's book or something.
Oh, okay, that's right. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, let's see. I believe that's accurate. If my computer. Um. Yeah. It was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay. Um. And so it was acknowledgement of its writing, which was, I don't think Monsters Inc. was even nominated for Best Original Screenplay, which I thought Monsters Inc. was brilliant. Um, but The Incredibles was in 2004.
Hmm.
Um, so there was kind of a sense that animated pictures were maybe okay. Yeah, Monsters Inc. only won Best Original Song for If I Didn't Have You. Um, that animated features were maybe getting respect again as a medium. Um, and like Incredibles got nominated for Best Original Screenplay, I think, and things started maybe looking up. But again, an animated movie wasn't nominated for Best Picture until 2009 with Up,
Hmm.
and then 2010. So back-to-back years with an animated feature and Best Picture nomination for Toy Story 3.
Oh, yeah.
And all of the animated movies nominated for Best Picture are great movies. They're all Beauty and the Beast, Up, and Toy Story 3 are all fantastic. But the fact that an animated movie hasn't won a screenplay award, or or because again they can't be nominated for acting awards. I
Hmm.
I, I get that.
Yeah.
We don't have a voice acting nominate award yet, which wouldn't surprise me if it arrives soon, because I heard they're adding a new award for best ensemble cast, just
Okay.
acknowledging
The
the
whole
or
performance. Yeah.
right. So it's like best casting or something, which is equivalent to the SAG best ensemble award.
Hmm.
Um, which I feel like, as far as awards to add, that doesn't feel like a necessary one.
Yeah.
People are calling for best stunt, or best stunt man or stunt woman, whatever award, which kind of makes sense to me. We got to acknowledge the people who put their lives at risk
Yeah. Right.
to make an exciting thing. But with the rise of CGI use in action films, it gets so difficult to really do that. Um, and then I think a voice acting or even motion capture performance award would be I would prioritize both stunt and voice acting before a best casting award. And
Because I mean that really plays into the best acting almost. Uh,
right, right,
yeah.
right, right. Or if you don't want to add a best voice acting, include voice actors or mocap actors in the best actor award. Like, can you imagine a world without Andy Serkis in a mocap suit?
Right.
Can you imagine what cinema would be without Andy Serkis in a mocap suit?
Would not be the modern day cinema we know.
No. Um, and so I think the Academy misprioritizes and misfocuses on things. And you see that at the actual Oscar ceremony. I think it was last year when they had like Halle Bailey and I don't know, Lily James and someone else who are presenting the Best Animated Feature Award. And in their little presenting speech, they were talking about like, oh, yeah, you've all seen all these movies nominated because your kids made you watch them again and again and again. And it was like, it was this little joke, you know how they always have to be funny before presenting the award, like
Right.
John Cena streaking
Oh
for the
gosh.
best.
It's like, right, we needed that.
I didn't like that, but that's a topic I don't have time for.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lack of respect for animation as a medium to tell good stories
Hmm.
because we haven't seen an animated feature nominated for Best Picture in the last 14 years. I believe that's correct. And I don't think we've seen an animated feature nominated for Best Screenplay um, since, mm, I don't know. It's probably not since The Incredibles. There's probably something more recent than that. But um, but at the same time, oh, okay. It looks like Inside Out might have been nominated for this. Uh, so there are some of these great movies that get. Oh wow, Toy Story was some of these great movies that get ignored. Um, okay, some more than I thought, but they're all Pixar films except for Shrek. What do you know? but that they're not acknowledged for their stories. They're acknowledged for the cute animation and things like that, or the songs because they're the only ones that have the guts to be a musical anymore. Um, and I think that's really losing out on a lot of worthwhile material. That the last one nominated for best screenplay was
Yeah.
Inside Out. Now, maybe they're just has there really been any animated movie better than Inside Out since then? I was a personal, very big fan of the Mitchells versus the Machines in 2021 or
I
2020.
I personally enjoyed the last Puss in Boots movie.
Oh,
That
that
was
movie was very
not only
good.
visually spectacular, but actually had some really deep things for both the kids and adults. And I think we need to. I think movies need to start thinking more about. At least animated movies need to start thinking more about that. Yeah.
Not to mention the smash successes of the Spider-Verse films.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I think it was an excellent film that I believe can be retroactively hurt by however the third one pans out.
Because it
There's
ends
some
up yeah, it ends up
what
being the third act to the second one's first two, you know.
right. So um some films, some middle installments in a trilogy or a series, they can stand still on their own. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love The Dark Knight Rises.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine. I wasn't a huge fan, but it doesn't retroactively hurt The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight
Right,
still ranks
exactly.
as the best, if one of the best, if not the best superhero film, let alone Batman movie, but superhero
Mm-hmm.
films out there. I love that movie. You know, everyone does. Like, I don't think I'm special by liking that movie, but my personal indifference for The Dark Knight Rises did not hurt The Dark Knight in my eyes. Whereas Across the Spider Verse, and in a way, I believe, kind of Dune 2. I think both of those can are good films in their own right. Across the Spider Verse, I think, was very good. Dune 2, I think, was good.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of them can be retroactively hurt by however the third installment goes.
Yeah. There's always a few things I would love to be able to talk about, but I know
Yeah.
you probably
I
should be going soon. But
yeah,
thank you so
I
much for
misjudged the time.
it's all good. It's all good. Thank you so much for coming on, Owen. Really appreciate it. You are very knowledgeable about this stuff, and I always love talking to you about all of it. Hopefully, we can have you on the show again soon.
I would love to come back, Joseph. Thank you for having me. I love getting an opportunity to talk about films in any and all capacities. So
Awesome.
glad I
Cool,
could
cool.
share some of my long-winded opinions with you.
Yep. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All
Thank
right.
you.
See you
Have a great
later.
one, Joe.
God bless.
You too, sir.